Thank you so much to everybody here, everybody watching the video in real time or after when it's in the ethers. Today, I'm telling a story, a huge manifestation story it's actually many manifestations in one of how I manifested Dr. Joe retreat that was sold out. The waitlist was 3,000 people. I was supposed to be in a different country at the time, and healed my eye. This isn't any manifestation story because for me, this is a huge initiation story. By this point in my journey, I'd already pretty much mastered manifestation up to the frequency that I was at and my beliefs. And as I shifted my beliefs, I kept being able to manifest more and more and more. This manifestation story was a vision that came to me through spirit. And I didn't know why at the time. The dots did not connect at the time. And I was just learning to follow my guidance. It's a very emotional story for me. Some of you have heard it, parts of it. I don't think I've ever told the whole thing to anybody because it's really like a lot of energy and a lot of emotion, knowing how guided I was, I am. But this really, really opened my eyes to the power within. Okay, so just some background, which maybe I'll tell some of these stories later, but by this point I'd already manifested numerous things from like commercials, which 3,000 people went up for this one audition. It was a national commercial. I manifested that, a TV show. I manifested jobs. I manifested the money to go to Greece and Cyprus when I wasn't working. I'll definitely tell that story. And for anybody who has taken or is going to take my 3-day Surrendering to Abundance, the story will be in that course, or you can get it later. And maybe I'll tell it in here too. But by this point in my journey, I had never manifested healing a physical illness or ailment. I had seen a lot of people heal from like cancer, Lyme disease, tumors, all of these crazy things. I'd even worked with a woman by this point who healed her own cancer. But I had never healed I'd never healed anything physical. So I've been running away from telling this story for so long. And the last few weeks, I've gotten a lot of signs from spirit when I will share that it's like, you need to share this and you need to share this now. Even this morning, I'm like, oh, let's go get coffee. Let's you go get some banana bread. Let's have tea. And I'm like, Jill, just sit down and do it. But I was afraid of all this emotion, all this energy coming through. And I was also afraid of what people would think. And some people think I'm crazy when I talk about manifestation and healings. But yeah, I know there's people out there that need to hear this story, whether they're trying to heal something, they're trying to manifest something, and they've lost hope. So I hope this story opens your eyes to the world of energy healing, of the power of our minds, of the power of intention, of the power of source. We are part source. Source is all around us and within us at all times. Enough about that. I'm just going to jump into the story. So about a year, it was last June or July, I think probably last June of 2021. I was sitting on the beach and a lot of things were happening in the world. I was starting to see things from a very different paradigm, and things were becoming evident to me that I could not see before because I wasn't ready. Go figure, my left eye, which is the eye of intuition and the feminine energy, was the one that almost went blind. Because each injury, each ailment, each disease, depending on where it is in the body, it's associated with something different that you're going through in your life. Anyways, I didn't see that at the time, obviously. I saw it later. So about, I think it was June, I was sitting on the beach and I did a 15-minute meditation. It was a short meditation, but very profound. I got a huge download and a huge vision. And I saw myself in Marco Island at Dr. Joe Dispenza's Marco Island retreat. By this point, that retreat was like a 3,000 person wait list. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's something there for me. Let's do a meditation, let's do a ritual. So a few days later, I did a 2-hour meditation on it. I did my intention setting. I forgot that I actually wrote this down, because now, like when I'm trying to manifest things, often I don't write them down. I just tap into the emotion, and I use my human design, and I use energy and frequency to align with that. And I rewrite my beliefs that say that I can't have the thing, or I can't achieve the thing, or I can't be at that place, or whatever it is, right? But for this one, I actually wrote it down, and I forgot I wrote this down. 2 nights ago, or not 2 nights ago, I've delayed this recording, so I think it was last week. Anyways, if you guys saw some of my videos, you would have seen that I had blue contacts in. I think it was a week ago today, actually. And those blue contacts were the exact ones that cut my eye and caused a huge corneal ulcer that got very, very infected. And all the doctors told me I was going to go blind in that eye. Okay, which is part of the story. When I wore them, you're probably like, why did she wear them? Again, I didn't wear them until a week ago. And when I put them in my eyes, I said, I'm going to wear these for fun. I am stronger than my body. They are not going to hurt me. I set the intention, and my eyes are totally fine. Okay. That night at 2 in the morning, I could not sleep, and something was like coming through, and I'm like, I need to write this down. Like I was just channeling. So like open my drawer beside my bed to see if there's a journal in there. I haven't opened that drawer in like over a year. And I find this journal, which I lost, or I thought I lost, and I open it to the page that this is in. And literally, guys, this is where I wrote down all the feelings of being at the retreat right before the ritual. It was a huge sign of, okay, now you have to tell this story. Like it's time, Jill. Marco advanced follow-up. So I was feeling my old feelings of fear, guilt, frustration, not good enough, stupid. And then the thoughts that existed outside of that were bliss, gratitude, elation, freedom, relief, courageous, trust, and then a bunch of other stuff that I wrote down. Okay. So I share that because it was a huge sign that I needed to share this story. And I totally forgot that I did that. So these are the signs, guys, if you're looking to manifest, that you need to start tuning into. Like these small things, like they might seem like small signs, but they're really, really not. Like that vision on the beach, that could have been like, oh, like whatever, it was just a vision, but like it was so profound in my body. I'm like, there's something there for me. Like I just knew, and I didn't know what it was. So fast forward, like did the whole ritual, 2 weeks went by, nothing happened. It was in another 2 weeks, the retreat. So I'm like, whatever, like I got to get out of Canada right now. I just can't be here. I'm booking a trip to Costa Rica. I had everything planned, manifested a place to stay. Like everything was set in stone. Another manifestation tip is that when things show up that is going to get you to where you want to go, it always comes at a time that's really inconvenient and in a way you could never expect. So this is how it worked for me for the retreat, and then I'll get into my eye thing because they're connected. So that happened, booked everything. I got a phone call from a friend who was in Singapore. She lived in Singapore, and she's like, Jill, I'm going to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale for a month. I have a place to stay that I'm house sitting. Like, do you want to come and stay with me and house sit with me? And I was like, that's so awesome. I really wanted to go to a retreat actually in Marco Island the weekend after you're moving there, which is like half an hour away. But I already booked a trip to Costa Rica, and the retreat sold out. And like, like, I guess my manifestation didn't come true, but like, that's super cool that you're going to Florida. And so thank you, no, thank you. 10 minutes later, somebody else called me and said, oh my goodness, Jill, I just got a room at the Marco Island retreat. By the way, the rooms were all sold out. There was a 250-ish wait list for that. Just like, there was like 250 people on the wait list, and they called everybody, but nobody answered. Do you want to come and let's just like show up and try and get in? And I'm like, that's super awesome. Oh, by the way, guys, I'd asked some people who had worked for Dr. Joe, and I'm like, can I just show up to this retreat? Like, it was during COVID, and they were like, honestly, people in the past have, but it's COVID, like they're not gonna let you in. I would not suggest just showing up. Like, they're very strict with all like the regulations. This is like the worst. This is when COVID was like at its worst, and the regulations were like super high. So I'd already like thought of that, but people were like, no, like don't do it. And so when my friend called, I said, that's so awesome. I wanted to manifest a retreat, but like, I already booked a trip to Costa Rica, and like, I don't want to just cancel that and show up and not get in. 20 minutes later, I get a WhatsApp message from somebody else. By the way, none of these people knew I was trying to manifest this retreat before. None of them knew about that vision, and none of them knew each other. And she said, hey, I just got a link to jump the wait list for the Dr. Joe retreat. Do you want to go? And then we can get an Airbnb together. And I was like, okay, Spirit, like I'm surrendering. I said, my friend just called me 10 minutes ago and said, oh my goodness, and said she got a room at the hotel. Like, let's all just stay in that room together. And then as long as she can use the link as well. And then like, let's show up. So we all used the link, signed in, and it was crazy because there was 3 of us, and then somebody else tried to use it after, and it didn't work. Like, we were the only ones who got in on it. I guess they closed it. I don't know. Again, Spirit works in weird, crazy, miraculous ways. So, and then I called my friend back in Fort Lauderdale before I'd canceled everything, actually. And I was like, hey, so I just got into the retreat. Like, I would love to come stay, but if I come, like, I don't know what to do with my dog when I'm at the retreat. Do you know anybody? And she was like, oh, like, I've literally been trying to manifest a dog to take care of. So she watched my dog when I was there, and then I stayed with her for a month after. Okay, so all of that happened, canceled Costa Rica for the time being, booked my flight to Florida, got up everything set up. I was giving Reiki to a client the night before I was about to leave Canada. By the way, guys, booked a one-way ticket, did not have plans of coming back, did not know when I was coming back. I'm like, I just got to get out of here. Canada at the time was feeling like a prison, and just a lot of stuff was happening. So, and my guides were like, get out of Canada right now for a while. I'm back in Canada. But anyways, the night before I left, I was giving Reiki to somebody, and I was wearing my glasses. Oh no, I was wearing those freaking contacts, and it was the second day in a row that I was wearing them. And after the first day, like, it was kind of itchy, but I thought maybe I have pink eye or something. Like, I don't know, if it gets really bad, I'll go to the doctor in the States, but I just didn't think I was gonna get bad. And then, yeah, my eyes are closed when I give Reiki most of the time. It started to burn. So I'm like, oh my goodness. But I'm like in the middle of a session, finished up my client. She left. I went to the bathroom after, took my contacts out. It was like super red. And I'm like, okay. And there was like a white dot, but I didn't really think that much out of it. I'm just like, I think I might have pink eye, whatever. If worst case, I'll get antibiotics. Don't really want to get them, but I'll get them if I need to in the States. So I finished packing, and then I went to bed really early because my eye was just bugging me so much, and I had to be up like pretty early for my flight. And there was, yeah, anyways, so I wake up at midnight and I want to like gouge my eye out. It was in so much pain. It was probably in more pain than when I broke my arm, like indescribable. And I go to the bathroom and my eye is like pussing green and yellow and it's so red. I can barely open it. I'm like, what is going on? And so I just like take a moment and I tune in and I get this download and it's like, text Andrew. So Andrew's my optometrist, or was, and I hadn't seen him in 2 years. So I'm like, okay, whatever. He's also a friend of mine. So I text him, not thinking he's gonna respond. It's like midnight on a Wednesday or something. And he calls me right away. And he's like, so weird because I usually sleep with my phone in my bathroom, but for some reason I slept within my room tonight and I was sleeping to the opposite side. So I was facing my phone and saw the light go off when you texted. But like, I never sleep within my room. Like it was like very bizarre that this will happen. And then he's like, can you send me a picture? So I did. And he was like, okay. So I'm going to send you to the hospital right now. Go get these antibiotics. It's one of two things. Please come into the clinic tomorrow first thing. And I'm like, okay, Andrew, I'm going to Florida tomorrow. So like, what do I do? And he's like, just come to the clinic. I'm going to open it early for you. So he opened it early for me, went there, was literally going to have to go like all my bags are packed, go there, pick up my bags, my dog, and go to Florida. So I go there and he's like not a dramatic person, by the way. He looks at my eye, he like does some tests and he's like, okay, so this is what I thought it was. It's a corneal ulcer. And I'm like, okay, no idea what that is. So what do we do? And he's like, Jill, like this is very serious. The chances of most corneal ulcers, like people going blind when it's this close to your cornea, is like 75% or something. And he was like, I have never seen one this infected in my entire career. He's been an optometrist for like over 12 years. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, we need to have this looked at every single day. I'm like, but I'm like leaving today. And he's like, Jill, like, you don't understand how serious this is. And I'm like, no, I got it. Like, anyways, scared shitless. I'm scared shitless. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so from everything I have seen, I'm not speaking out loud to him, by the way, internally, I'm like, from everything I've seen, the best place to heal this is at a Dr. Joe retreat or somewhere with a very high frequency when I can set my intention and just focus on that. My logical mind is thinking, Jill, you're crazy. He's saying you have to get this looked at every day, probably twice a day. Like you could go blind. What if you get there and you have to go to like spend all this money on doctors and like, and I just stopped for a second and I was like, please guide me. Like I asked the divine and I get this huge download and it's like, Jill, you have to walk your talk. And I had been like talking about energy healing and all these miracles and seeing them, and working with clients and manifested a lot. But it's a whole different game when doctors are telling you one thing and your intuition is telling you something else. And they're saying something really bad is going to happen if you didn't follow my advice. But I had to walk my talk. So I'm like, okay, I gotta go let my dog out. Like I'll text you shortly. We'll figure out when I'm gonna see you again tomorrow. And yeah, it was so infected that like I literally, he like couldn't do anything other than me taking the antibiotics. So go get my dog, hustle to the airport. I literally almost missed my flight. They were calling my name. They're like, Jill Nixon, we're gonna close the doors in 13 seconds. And I'm like running. I tripped twice with my dog in my bag because like, anyways, I was smuggling him into the States. He didn't have proper documentation at the time. I didn't have time to get it. But anyways, so maybe I shouldn't have said that on camera. He had all the shots. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I get on the plane, text him. I'm like, I had to go. Like, I just had to go. And he was like, hey, please, please, please see a doctor there. So I found a doctor in Marco Island. I went the first day of the retreat. Same thing. He's like, ooh, this is not looking good. Like, we're going to have to put you on cortisol. Like, you might have to get surgery. You're like, there's a very high chance of you going blind. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, thanks for putting this belief in my mind. Didn't say that, but anyhow, I was like, he's like, go, like, we can't do anything. Just take the antibiotics for a couple more days and then come back in 2 days. We'll see how swollen it is and how hopefully the infection's gone down so we can start to put you on the cortisol and like see what else we can do. And just like pray for the best. And I'm like, well, very good at prayer. Again, didn't say that out loud, but I went to the retreat for 2 days and this was an advanced follow-up. And I think this is why I saw the vision a month prior to this. And then I did the manifestation ritual and then it didn't work, but then it did in a way I couldn't have expected it. Right when it was right when I let it go. Shortly, like I booked the Costa Rica thing. I'm like, okay, I was so attached to being there because I saw the vision and I felt so innately that there was a reason I should be there, which was, yeah, because the eye thing was going to happen. But because I was attached to it, it didn't happen until I released it. That's another key to manifestation. Anyways, so I am at the retreat. The only intention I set was to heal my freaking eye. It was burning. Like I was sitting through 4 or 5 hour meditations, like with this intention, my eye, like I wanted to gouge it out still. It was in so much pain and burning and pussing and like, it was disgusting. I was seeing friends who I met at other retreats and they're like, hi. And I'm like, oh, hi, like, don't look at me, like my eye. And I didn't tell anybody that what was going on. Like, obviously they knew something was going on with my eye, but I didn't tell them like, oh, the doctor said like, I could be going blind, because I didn't want to speak that into existence. Our words are a wand, guys. Like they are so powerful beyond belief. And beliefs create our reality. And I'm going to talk more about that shortly when I get to the next part of my eye thing. So it's taken a very long time. Thank you for bearing with me. I go and I meditate and I go back to the optometrist 2 days later. And it's the middle of the retreat, but I had to leave and see him because I chose to, I should say. I walk in there, he looks in my eye, he does little tests through like the microscope thing. And he's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, just some light meditation. Why? And he's like, your eye, like the cut is healed. Like, obviously it's still pussing, but like the cut is healed. Like you're in the clear. It didn't, because usually I guess it gets worse and it kind of goes and the infection goes. So that's when people become blind. And yeah, he's like, I have never seen anything like this. Like I've never seen somebody like a corneal ulcer heal that quickly and also be that infected and just like it backtracks so quickly. Like this is a miracle. And it's so funny because the friend who was supposed to drive me to the airport, Regine, but she didn't because I was booking it from my freaking condo. I'm like, I don't have time for you to like pick me up. And she didn't know what was going on. Her family, there's a lot of optometrists in that family. And she's like, Jill, I would have stopped you. If I knew what was going on, I would not have taken you to the airport. Anyways, I don't want to get into the rest of that after, but yeah, I told her like, I think 6 months after this happened. And she's like, that's a freaking miracle. And I've told many doctors and they're like, that's not possible. Anyways, it is possible. Anything is truly possible when you're connected to the divine. to the divine and you have the intention and the belief behind it. I am telling you, I've seen it time and time and time again. And I hope this story inspires some people. So anyways, he's like, you're like, couldn't believe it. And he's like, keep doing whatever you're doing. You can finish the antibiotics. I didn't even actually finish them because they don't like taking pharmaceuticals unless I absolutely have to. I did take some at the beginning, like the first couple of days, but after that I was like, no, I got this. And then at this point, my eye is like a third white, okay? Like it looks like I'm from some zombie movie or some weird thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So obviously like I'll just wear my glasses instead of like my regular contacts until the infection's completely gone. But like, when is this white thing gonna go away in my eye? And I'm just thinking it's like because of the pus or something. And he's like, oh, it's not. I'm like, pardon me. He's like, it's a scar, like it's not going away. And I'm like clocking in my mind. I'm like, oh, laser, like what about laser? Can we like laser it? By the way, my eyes are very dark brown, like almost black. So it's like some morphed thing. Like there's no way I am living the rest of my life with a freaking morphed eye. No way, not in this reality. I am changing this 3D reality to suit what I want. And he's like, no, like you should be very grateful that your eye is healed. And I'm like, oh, I am beyond grateful. And then I remembered, oh, right, gratitude. Gratitude is the highest form of receivership in all forms. Okay. So I say, thank you to his belief. I'm not holding that belief. Don't say this out loud, guys, because people, I don't say it out loud. I don't want to get in a fight. I just knew deep in my soul, I'm like, that's not what I'm calling in. But I could not believe in that moment that I was not going to have that for the rest of my life. The white scar on my eye that make me look like a morphed person. Which, you know, I would have, if I had to, like, I would have learned to love myself that way. And maybe that was a big lesson for me. But I was not calling that in. So I couldn't believe in that moment that it would be gone. I could say that affirmation, I'm not gonna have this white scar on my eye for the rest of my life, but I couldn't believe it. So anybody who's using affirmations, the belief behind it is the most important part. If you can't believe it at a visceral soul level, it's not gonna work. So what I did, because I was very practiced in this work already, and I understood the power of belief, and I just had a miracle, many miracles lined up. I mean, to get me to the retreat, but healing my eye was a whole nother level for me. I'm like, whoa, I am powerful. Like I am freaking powerful. And I rewrote the belief in that optometrist's office, in my mind's eye too. I might have a white scar on my eye for the rest of my life. That is not what I am calling in, and I'm setting my intention for this to be healed and dissolved as much as possible. Within 2 days, it started going down. Like again, I was still at the retreat. That was my intention. After the retreat ended, I meditated every day for 2 hours with that intention and that intention only. That was my only intention. Within a week and a half, the scar was gone. And as it started to shift, I started to rewrite the belief piece by piece by piece until it was almost gone. And I was like, now in my body can hold the belief that I am going to have this white scar dissolve. And it did. As you can see, it's not there anymore. So I hope this story, very long story, inspires people to realize how powerful you are. Like we as human beings are a piece of source. We are powerful beyond beliefs. If I had told anybody who I really admired and looked up to, who didn't understand the power of this work, what I was going through, which is why I just left Canada and didn't tell anybody and didn't even tell my friends at the retreat. I think I told 2 friends who were like, had healed. One had healed cancer actually, and one had a tumor. And so they had already been through it, but I didn't go into the victimhood. I just said, yeah, like like the doctors are telling me I'm going to go blind. That's not what I'm calling it. And they were supportive, and they were like, you can heal this, because they had already done it. They had healed something that was impossible to heal by the medical point of view with Western medicine. But if I told people who didn't understand the power of this work, I don't know if I would have been strong enough in my belief and the power within to not take on their beliefs. So if any of you are going through a challenge, whether it is a sickness, whether you feel stuck in your current circumstances, I'll do more videos on that later, guys. Like, I have been literally homeless, like, and manifested places to live within like hours. Like, it's been crazy. When I was traveling, when I like had no plan, the manifestations, I think it was because the courage that I had and the faith that I had, my manifestation started matching that. So when you are playing small and not having faith, your manifestations, your healings will match that. When you start to trust and surrender, even when it feels impossible, your manifestations, your healings will match the level of trust and faith that you have. So if you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling like you're in circumstances you can't get out of, if you are feeling like you have an illness, an injury, a setback that you can't get past, I am telling you, you can. If you start to believe you can and learn about this work and surround yourself with people who have done the work, not who have it in theory, okay? There's a difference between learning about manifestation and actually putting it into practice and integrating it and doing the activations and doing the shadow work and doing the breath work or the shamanic work. And then trusting and have freaking faith and connecting to the divine. There is a big difference. This is why some people understand all the theory about manifestation and all the teachings, but don't actually do it. They don't actually trust. They don't actually invest in themselves. And guys, that Dr. Joe retreat, those things aren't cheap. I mean, like, it's all relative now to me. I'm like, whatever, like 2,500 USD, whatever, like, not like the payback is so much. Or in mentors who are like tens of thousands of dollars, or programs that like, that investment to me now is worth it. I was scared. I didn't even want to pay for my hotel when I got gifted my first Dr. Joe retreat, because I was so freaking scared to invest. And I did not know the power of this work. I didn't know the power of vortexes. I didn't know the power of being around people. I didn't even know it was possible to heal yourself. And one of my teachers, Gary Ramsey, maybe I'll send this to him. He was told he was going to die. He'd be lucky if he lived till the next day. And he wrote a book called Bliss. He healed himself from cancer and from a tumor. And when I found this out, like, I was not in this world. I did not have this paradigm. And I thought he was crazy. I literally like didn't communicate with him. And he was one of my favorite teachers and closest teachers at a very small school, the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York. But it didn't fit my paradigm. So in a way, it freaked out my subconscious and my ego. And now I admire him so greatly. And I ended up reading his book after I got into this work. But like, the first Dr. Joe retreat I went to was shortly after, if I correctly remember the timeline, he wrote that book. I'm like meeting all these people who had healed from this and that and manifested this and that. I'm like, yo, Dr. Joe got some good actors here. But then there were so many people that were like saying this. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe like I needed to walk into this. And I still like didn't really believe, even though weird things were happening at the retreat. And I had already like manifested a couple things, but I came back and my whole life changed. And like I started to practice manifestation and learn more about it. And things started happening. And then I started taking more risks and investing more. And sometimes the investment is just the freaking will. Okay. It doesn't even have to be financial. Sometimes it's the will, because the financial investment is also that commitment. It is that will. But if you can do that by itself, you don't have the means to invest, or you think you don't, because there's always a way. Once we make the commitment, a way always comes. Yeah, I'm gonna tell, it just happened to my friend. He literally like 2 weeks ago just manifested a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. He like showed up and he's like, I think someone's gonna pay for my ticket. And somebody did. He manifested a ride there. And anyways, it was crazy. But there's always a way if you believe there's a way. And whether you feel like you're getting blocked by the paradigms of doctors who are telling you it's incurable, or society's paradigms of you got to do like A, B, C, D, E to get this job, or like wherever you're playing by society's rules, or you need this, you can't do that because like you're not worthy, because you didn't come from that type of family who made that type of money, so you can't make that type of money. Like that's all BS, guys. It's all BS. It is your belief that creates your reality. It's not anybody else's beliefs. It's your belief and your worthiness that will allow you to step into the life that you truly love. And the more you do that, the more you will be guided by spirit, the more you will have faith and trust in yourself and the divine, even when it doesn't look like it's going to work out. Okay. I love you guys all so much. Thank you for listening to this very long story. It went much longer than it was supposed to. And I just want to give a couple thank yous and shout outs to some friends who really encouraged me to start teaching manifestation. And I like the word mentor better, mentoring people in manifestation with one-on-one clients. And now it's turning into a group format. But thank you so much to my friend Dusty, who is like, you should start writing down your manifestations, a year and a half ago. And then I did. And whenever I forget how powerful I am, I go back to this book, and I'll share some of them with you guys. And also my friend Corey, who I met at a Dr. Joe retreat as well, but I guess I met him like online a few years ago, and he drove me to visit a dear soul sister, Agatha, in Tampa. And then I was sharing stories with him, and he was like, I am so inspired. I've been in this work for a while, and I am so inspired. I actually think he's in this group. And also there was one more dear thank you, and I just lost it. Somebody else who really encouraged me. Oh, Basma, how could I forget? I was working a lot with people with addictions, and essentially I still am, because manifestation, you have to overcome your addictions. And sometimes it's like not to a substance, but it's to a negative thought pattern or a limiting thought pattern, or addiction to fear or anxiety, or all of these things. Like those are all addictions too. I just don't market it that way. But anyways, when I was starting to tell her about some of my manifestation stories, she's like, you need to do a course on this. Why are you doing? She's like in another mastermind I'm in. She's like, why are you doing a course on addictions? Like, you're lighting up when you're talking about this. And I was like, oh, right. I forgot to listen to my guidance instead of all the other people who are guiding me with the best that they know, but not necessarily knowing what lights my soul up and how I can light other souls up. And actually, when I'm teaching about manifestation, I'm simultaneously helping people overcome their addictions to whatever that is, because it's part of the process. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much. I feel very blessed to have you all here, and I'm gonna start doing Manifestation Mondays. So get ready for a little manifestation story every single Monday. And I promise you, they won't all be this long, but just to keep you inspired, whether it's a manifestation that I have incurred in my life or somebody in my vortex or one of my clients. I love celebrating them. So every single Monday, with the exception of when I am off grid or like in deep work myself, I will be doing a small video to keep you inspired. Blessings. Mwah.